All right, good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic day. We got CPI coming up here in just a minute. Core inflation month over month, year over year, and then the inflation rate month over month, and then, of course, CPI. CPI is expected to come in at 3.8%. That's about where our math puts it as well. So, yeah, 3.8, 3.9. Yesterday, 2 days ago, or was it yesterday? There wasn't any forecasts out. Or no, that was Sunday. We looked everywhere. Couldn't really find it, but ultimately it did end up finding at 3.8. Grok said sentiment was coming in at around 3.9. We don't think you're going to see 3.7. It is possible. But anyways, how would that be in terms of what would be our directional bias based on that? On a soft number or a miss lower, 3.7, we assume that would be bearish for the dollar. However, we think that would be a buyable opportunity potentially into next week or something like that. We ultimately don't think that the dollar is going to roll over, even though there is a lot of potential for BOJ intervention, SNB, which is a Swiss National Bank intervention. We just think that the dollar can continue higher just simply based on interest rates alone and not hawkish and dovish expectations. But we'll see. Bearish dollar should be good for Bitcoin, but you saw how Bitcoin reacted this week when the U.S. started bombing Iran again. As we had a technical bullish signal going into the weekend. Nice bullish advance on Friday, closing above daily resistance up here, setting a higher high. Go into Saturday, nice little small pullback, and then Sunday evening is when the bombing started again, and right back down. I usually don't like this. Once we leave the 21, we spent literally every single day last week in 2 days of the prior week testing the 21-day exponential moving average. So the fact that it held and then we saw an advance, that was nice. I generally don't want to see price go right back down and close under it like that. That's typically weak. However, I think we're pretty close. I think everybody that wants to sell Bitcoin has sold Bitcoin, essentially. So, I'm not anticipating any heavy downside, at least until the BIP drama unfolds. Once the BIP drama unfolds, I expect volatility will rise, but we'll see what happens. Could this be a buying opportunity? It absolutely could be. Could also be a selling opportunity for you bears. I think in order for Bitcoin to go down today, you're going to need to see a terrible inflation print. I don't know, right? We don't know what's going to happen. But in terms of trading the setup, you don't really have a good sell setup here unless price falls from here. You can literally look at all of your higher time frame charts to get a decent area to gauge risk. That would be right there. So essentially what you would want to see is you would want to see a peep above this and then a drop. So this red line, $62,928, that's where you'd be looking for shorts. If you're looking for longs, you don't have a setup here. You're literally buying the high of day into the 21-day retest, into 4-hour resistance. You're literally buying what could ultimately be the high of day. So, unless you bought last night during the Asian Open, the Asian Session Open, unless you bought then, I really don't have a long for you. If you're looking for long-term profitability on Bitcoin, like a 5-year hold or something, then obviously you can buy here. I'm talking about for the day traders, the scalpers out there. I don't think there is a long position to take here on Bitcoin. there might be a long position to take elsewhere in the crypto sphere. I don't know. I took a long this morning on the S&P 500. Let's go take a look at that. On the micro futures here. There's 4-hour support here, but more than that, this is the monthly open. The monthly open. So you can see my entry. That's my stop loss. It's one contract on a micro. Nothing there really, right? I fully intend or expect that will be stopped out as soon as the bell, or not the bell rings, but as soon as the inflation print comes over. Once we get that inflation, and then in terms of positions on the week's exchange, let me get that refreshed and popped up. There we go. Okay, so that's it. That's all I've got. 2 Bitcoin trades. For anybody that's new and just joining me, you're going to see a long and a short on this chart. You're going to probably not understand how that works. It's cross-separated margin. I don't suggest new traders do this. I only have this set up on Bitcoin. All other cryptos is normal. But yeah, I'm currently long and short Bitcoin. That's how I feel about it right now. Like, I really don't have a good... the technical setup on Bitcoin is a sell. You're in a bearish trend on the weekly and daily time frames. Excuse me. You have a strong dollar right now. Bitcoin is very highly inversely correlated to the dollar right now. We'll take a look at that on the coefficient. We can look at the dollar correlation. We can get an exact reference point to see just how correlated or inversely correlated to the dollar Bitcoin is currently. That's this green line down here. So 0 means there is zero correlation. 1, positive 1, means there is a strong correlation. And then -1 means there is a strong inverse correlation. So you can see how Bitcoin on the daily time frame has been hanging around under the 0 line because there has been a strong inverse correlation to the dollar. So as long as you have that strong inverse correlation to the dollar, then generally speaking, and on the weekly, it's been dive bombing for the last several weeks, too inversely correlated. So it's going to be a dollar story, unfortunately. So we think that most likely Bitcoin bounces today if the DXY trades the way it should trade, going by what the news is going to be, which is lower inflation. Lower inflation takes away the ability for the Fed. Like, so when the last Fed meeting that we had in June, they were hawkish. They were kind of threatening like they were going to hike interest rates if they had to, because inflation was up. And then the very next time you hear Kevin Moore speak, which he will be speaking again today, mind you, at 10 o'clock, he wasn't as hawkish, and that's where we saw the DXY pull back. We did not have any intervention from the BOJ. This was essentially a pullback based on the market interpreting Kevin's not so hawkish stance. Hawkish Fed is bullish for the dollar. Dovish Fed is bearish. So coming in lower CPI, and it's not just going to be slightly lower, because inflation or CPI is heavily affected by oil. Every $10 move on a price per barrel on the futures contract is a 0.2% move on CPI. So you can essentially do the math yourself. A $50 increase or decrease in oil is literally going to swing CPI by, 4 or 5/10%. That's how you go from 4.2 last month to 3.8 this month. That's a 4-point move, if you will. So yeah, we think that could have, it's going to essentially make them less hawkish. And if you take into account the jobs number we got last Thursday, they're not going to be able to hike. So the market should price that in, being slightly negative on the dollar today. We go look at the technical setup over here. You can see we took out last week's high and rejected. Bam. Right? So if you were a dollar bear or anticipating dollar bearishness from CPI coming out, right there is where your trade setup would have been for dollar shorts. If you're trading above 101.275, then you cannot be a dollar short. All right? Because at that point you have upside continuation. That's all. That's all. But yeah, so I'm currently short and long Bitcoin, so I'm neutral on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin drops, then the long position will get stopped out. If Bitcoin rises, then the short position will get stopped out. It's just not a very good tradable area here. I mean, it is if you're looking for a day trade, you could absolutely take the short. But if dollar is bearish, that is most likely going to lead to Bitcoin potentially breaking out. We'll see. We got 1 minute. 1 minute. But my current setup is long SP, ES futures. It's the only thing that was trading at a setup, or that was at an area that we look to operate in anyways. Baby, could you grab me a bottle of water? I forgot to do that. Thank you, my love. All right, we got nothing. Let me try to pull it up again. There's your dollar weakness. It's going to give Bitcoin strength. There's your breakout. And it's a strong breakout above where you would have been looking to put risk on. So, like I said, not a short. Most likely, if dollar's going to rip, if dollar's going to be weak, you wanna see Bitcoin ripping to the upside. Now we're not seeing the S&P rip. Oh, yeah, we are. For whatever reason, I'm still not seeing anything over here. So weird. So that platform has lagged up. As you can see, the S&P 500 is clearly ripping to the upside here. So that long trade just paid big. So let me see what's going on with Tasty. It is obviously jacked up. All right, I don't know what's going on with this thing. It's clearly not an internet thing because, internet is on point. This is absolutely a frozen trading platform. And it's not a PC issue either. I have a very strong computer. Just don't dig the Tasty platform that much in terms of how good it operates. It's laggy. Laggy and, I don't know, slow. I mostly just hold. I don't do much trading on that platform, to be honest with you. Give me 1 second. Let me get that pulled back up because I want to take profits on that trade. Clearly. Up 300 bucks on the scalp. All right, so finally got it moving up there, and you can see there 300 bones. Yeah, I'll take profits on it and then look to re-enter later on, or it's just one micro, might not do anything with it. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what to do. Anyways, yeah, DXY taking a nice little tumble here. Kind of what we anticipated. We do ultimately believe this will be a buyable opportunity, and we do believe it would be a buyable opportunity on the USDJPY. Now, there is a massive risk in buying the USDJPY because of potential BOJ intervention. We don't think they're going to be quick to react because the last time they intervened at 160, that was back in July of 2024. This year they intervened again once price got above 160 in late April, early May. Right there. They probably won't intervene again until at least like 165 or 170. So we think that if we could get a move lower on the BOJ or on the USDJPY here, it would be a buyable opportunity. I don't know if you're going to get as low as June's open, but I would definitely be interested in buying it down there if it did get down there. We're probably going to be watching a fib instead. Let's see. We got some major key areas of potential reversal. Last week's low going to be the first. And then, of course, 2 weeks ago's low, which comes in around the 618 of June's range, would also be a potential opportunity. I would say like from 158 to 160 is just a complete, like a whole zone. It's a big area in Forex because Forex is always levered up strong. I get it. 2 full points. That's a lot, right? It's 200 pips of levels to keep an eye on. So I think I'll just watch that weekly low right there. I think that would be the best place to look for a potential long after a day or two of downside. A day or two. You haven't really been able to put in many 2-day spans of downside. Like consistent down days, one right after the other. You haven't been able to do that since they intervened. Every down day literally has been bought up. One down day bought up. One down day bought up. You see what I'm saying? So I want to see a pullback on it, but I think ultimately it will be a long op. Probably nothing to do on it today. Now, we also have to wait until 9:30 because sometimes we see we'll get the number, we'll get the initial reaction, but then 9:30 comes and you see that get faded. We don't really think that that's going to be a longer term bearish move on the dollar, but it could be because the dollar. Oh, I had USD JPY pulled up right there. I already had it ready to go with the levels. Yeah, June's low there. And then that's that lower low. That weekly swing low. But these are going to be the two areas that I'm interested in buying. It could literally hold support here, but I think that would be a very aggressive long, especially since you've seen this like choppy action up here. But I mean, from 160 up to 165 would be a decent scalp, or at least a decent swing trade, especially seeing how you get the rollover rate for being long USD JPY because of the interest rate spread is nice. Well, it's not as nice as it used to be. Wow. It used to be a lot more than that. It's still almost 50 cents on 10,000 contracts per day. Not bad. USD Swissy, 0.71. That's why I'm long USD Swissy, to be honest with you. That's very attractive. Just generating money every single day. It's very small money, but it's money. Excuse me. Wow, let's see what Bitcoin's doing now. Nice move back to the upside here. This is going to put it firmly above the 21-day exponential moving average. Daily support held. Ultimately, we were talking about that yesterday. Yeah, it looks good. So higher low on the weekly. If that low remains the current week low and stays the low for the rest of the week, that would be good for Bitcoin. Let's see if on an intraday basis it can hold support at the current intraday VWAP. It comes pretty close to that weekly, what would be. It's not really because you didn't take out the high, but it would be a demand level. But it doesn't matter. You've got the VWAP right there. It comes perfectly at that level. So we don't necessarily need to watch it. My concern is the 4-hour 200, as that's clearly where the sellers are getting it. Also up here above this 4-hour close, just slightly, is the June retracement level, the 382. So if we fib June, just June's range from high to low. Ooh, shoot. And then we drop back into the intraday chart. Oh, sorry, it's just below. My bad. So right here is that 382 retracement level. That's pretty much where the sellers were, taking aim at Bitcoin. So because of the current structure, you could still be bearish. Because of the current daily structure, current weekly structure. I don't like it, but I mean, my short is up here. So there's no point for me to take a trade here. VIX is currently at 1680, retracing yesterday's range slightly. We had a bearish bias on S&P 500 yesterday. Let's take away XMR. XMR has turned into this garbage token that doesn't do anything at all. So let's get rid of it. Let's turn off the session volume profile and let's turn off the moving averages for now, because we're only going to be looking at the daily for now. So yesterday we had a downside target. Yesterday, this day, we had a downside target of Friday's low. So I took literally 4 trades on this yesterday to get to that target, and I got stopped out literally of every trade I took yesterday. Oh, it was such a great day. Look at this choppy nonsense on the open. So on this first initial spike, I took a short, this candle right here, or this candle right here. Ended up wicking me out, tagged my stop loss. It looks like a lower high on the SPX, but on the futures, this wick was a higher high because that's where my stop loss was, setting right at the high of day. So on the futures, it wicked me out. So then I tried it again, got stopped out again. Then we got some kind of news headline that caused this spike. So then I tried another short. The last short was like in this area looking for downside continuation. And then, of course, that got wicked out as well. Very difficult, very choppy the first hour of the trade yesterday. Usually I'm pretty good. My entries are usually pretty freaking tight. But occasionally I have bad days, and yesterday was a bad day. So did not make any money yesterday. But what I lost on eating all 4 stops yesterday equaled about $130 total. Trading micros, lost $130. Today I made $350 or $320 or $300, right? So you can see one trade today takes up all the losses from yesterday. That is how I am able to do this long term and trade from home and be my own boss and all that good stuff. It's risk management. It has nothing to do with my ability to predict price. But yeah, we were looking for this wick to get tagged. My take profit level was going to be literally right where that candle ended up getting to and then stalling out. But ultimately it did get down there and make a fresh day low. So that's currently, where we're bouncing from this morning. Let's go look at the futures because, well, can't see that there. Here, let's look at it this way. So that was Friday's low right there. That was my take profit. So yeah, it ultimately ended up getting hit, but nasty downside wicks there. That probably got a lot of longs off sides because a lot of longs will look at that as buying pressure. And ultimately it just kept dropping down. But I would say it probably just now goes higher. I mean, the S&P 500 really isn't trading. It doesn't have much correlation to the dollar right now. So the dollar not here. Let me see if I have that indicator. I do not. The S&P 500 has literally not much correlation to the dollar right now. So, I mean, it looks like it is. Dollar down, SP up, right? Well, I guess there is kind of an inverse correlation. There's more of an inverse correlation than there is of zero correlation. It's just not as strong as it is on Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, this is an ascending wedge, or, I mean, if we put the all patterns indicator on the chart, there is some patterns here probably. What do we got? We got a double top. It has a downside target of 68.22. There's no way I would expect that. No way. I guess if you take out the neckline of 7,200, then you could look for something crazy like that. But yeah, the only patterns that this indicator is even giving us right now are both double bearish patterns. So could you be bearish on the SPOOs? Yeah, I guess you could. But I would look at it in terms of only if it isn't advancing above this week's current high. So if you are advancing above this week's current high, you would probably not want to be a bear at that point. So I guess daily supply, if that holds, one could ultimately be bearish. I wouldn't be, though. Me, myself, my bias on this is higher. If the daily 21 holds, I just allow the indicators to basically give me my bias. But if you break out of this, there is a measured move to take. And you could see 7,700 easily if you break out with an sustained upside rally. Lot of talk right now on the interwebs about an AI bubble and all of that. My only thing to say to that is time will tell. I don't think you're going to see that bubble pop anytime soon. But I could be wrong. So make sure you mitigate risk if you are doing that. The other day, puts were a lot cheaper than they are now. So the other day, it would have been a better trade to put on like a massive, long dated, way out of the money put for, just for like insurance on your cold, or not your cold storage, but on your long-term buy and hold portfolio. And Bitcoin's retesting yesterday's open right now. That's pretty magnanimous. Pretty awesome. Good looking stuff, man. Good looking stuff. But yesterday would equate to a bear trap if you get all the way up there. But yeah, when you get under 15, that's when you want to be looking to buy long dated out of the money puts, because that's when they're cheapest. When the VIX is on the lows, that's when put premium is affordable and attractive. You're also seeing volatility on Bitcoin get slammed today. I still don't like the fact that the volatility for Bitcoin is on the lows when Bitcoin is on the lows. But it is what it is. This can go much lower. That's the thing. These are the lows, but this is a very new asset. So it can definitely break down and continue to trend lower. As long as it's trending down like that, I would be more bullishly biased on Bitcoin. Yeah, it would be hard pressed for me to think that you're getting ready to see a big move lower on Bitcoin. Let's get our low month close marked out so that way we can at least track that price moving forward. And then the lowest low. All-time low. Okay, beautiful. Just makes it easier for us to track what's going on. So basically, if you have a bearish bias on Bitcoin, you're going to want to see this hold. You're going to want to see an aggressive spike out of this area. I would argue that, that isn't the highest probability thing. And the reason for that is, well, because you already got that. You already got that right here. The last time you traded down into this area, that's when the volatility buyers came back with a vengeance. That's also when Bitcoin topped out at, what was it? Like Strategy's cost basis. is where it topped out. A little bit above. Right here is where I'm referring to. A little bit above. So we were testing the 200-day exponential moving average up here. And then this, what day is that specifically? That gigantic move was on June the 2nd. So that's right in through here. Was at the time Strategy's cost basis was up in here. It was a little higher. And this sideways price action that you see right there, that small little McDonald's arches, there was a 50-day exponential moving average in here. I don't exactly remember its structure. I think it was like that. Maybe a little higher, maybe through here. But anyways, that's what was holding support. And if price would have held support here, we were going to be uber bulls on Bitcoin. But it did not happen. You got that explosive move in volatility. Bam! Bitcoin drops, makes a fresh year low. Then you bounce there again, swing back up to 48, set a lower high, and then right back down. So my argument, my argument right now is against a massive breakdown. Because, yeah, you could bounce out of this area again, but I mean, that the trend would be you would just be looking for a lower high. I guess anything's possible, but it just seems like the probabilities are on the long side right now. But just maybe not up here at 62K. I was a big time buyer in June. I spent over $20,000 buying Bitcoin in June. I first started buying in February when we hit 67K. That's essentially where I had a standing buy limit at. So every time Bitcoin got back into that area, I was accumulating, and I accumulated heavily in June. So I'm going to wait till about October or November to start heavy accumulation again. By then, I should have a nice little chunk of change to reinvest in the Bitcoin long term for that big hold. The Spoos is retracing most of that move here, or a lot of it anyway. Let's get monthly open lined up here. That's much lower than on the futures. There. That looks better. So that's essentially why I bought it. And then I just set my entry with 4-hour support. Right there's 4-hour support. When this wicked into it, I bought it based on the monthly open. That's all. That's it. And the current structure is bullish, daily, weekly, 4-hour. Everything is bullish. So that prompted the long. Let me see what's going on over here in the chat. Not much. All right. Tony the Fish says he's first. What's up, Tony? Paper Wiggleman, good morning. Bravo, Peter. Good morning, everybody. Services inflation, Stephen Epting says 3.5. Was it that low? I didn't even look. Once it came in, I didn't care. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a huge beat. Yeah, it's hard for me to think that they're going to be bearish or fading this in New York, guys. I think this is a viable opportunity here on the SPOOs. This exact price, maybe not, right? It's going to be difficult because every 5-minute candle could put in that lower low. Oh, this is also, let me go back to whatchamacallit. Because that's lag data. So you've got 30 minutes until the bell. So you might have some time. I would watch the lows and maybe, you just got to figure out what you're willing to risk and how much money. You know what I mean? How many contracts and all that. I usually risk 5 points because I'm trying to scalp 10. But now that you've got some volatility, you can widen that and just use a smaller position size or whatever. Let's see if we can find an absolute level, like an objective level to watch. Daily open is all the way up there. You're not retesting that yet. The 8-hour open is here. You're not there either. Okay, so you've got a 4-hour swing. That would be kind of a high to buy. But one could arguably look to get long in that area or 75.25, whatever lines up with the 4-hour 21. Maybe let this 15-minute back up off these lows. You're going to get 2 more. Actually, you're going to get 2 more because when the 9:30 opens, so you might be able to wait, be a little bit patient, let the next 15-minute candle open, let it sweep the lows, let it bounce around a little bit. Be patient. There's no need to rush, I don't think. But I would only be looking for longs. I mean, that was a super soft print. Services inflation finally stalling month over month at 0%. CPI was a pleasant surprise. Absolutely. Dollar still looks angry on the weekly/monthly. Yeah, in terms of angry, you mean bullish? Yeah. Yeah, it does. It looks very, very bullish here. We're probably going to take out those lows. I would have to, if I was trading the DXY, this specific asset, based on the candle structure that we have here, I would definitely be targeting that. I mean, obviously my take profit would be a little bit higher than that low, but yeah, we're probably going to smoke those lows this week based on that inflation print. That's going to take the Fed's hawkish stance and wad it up into a little ball and throw it right into the garbage. Last week's jobs numbers was terrible. That was already making it difficult for them to carry on with the lie of, we're going to hike twice in 2026. I don't think they said that. Obviously, they didn't say that, but that was the take of some bearish analysts on Twitter. Very, very on the outskirts of what's probable. Nobody thinks they're going to hike. Now, with that being said, though, here's the issue. Even though nobody thinks they're going to hike, why not just be all out bearish on the dollar? And the answer to that question is the interest rate spreads. So they're not going to hike, but they're not going to cut either. That means we're going to be steady at that 3.5% range. And until you get that's the wrong thing. Until you get another interest rate hike from a different country, then this spread is what makes it attractive for dollar longs. right? This is the SNB or the Swiss National Bank. Look at that spread. Very attractive for longs. BOJ, massive spread. The blues, the dollar, greens, the BOJ. That is attractive for longs. So until you get a rate cut from the US and a hike from the BOJ, dollar long is still very much in the works. That's why I said probably not this week. Like this entire week could be a down week for the dollar. But ultimately, I think it would be a buying opportunity next week or the week after. But, I mean, obviously I could be wrong. Yeah, this might be a... Oh, I don't want to leave that on the chart. This might be a sellable. Let's see. A scalpy scalp. I don't like it way up there. Yeah, I wouldn't want to chase this all the way down here. I think that would be a terrible short entry on FX. Good morning, Tom. How are you, my friend? $30 still. If this 30-minute, if it could get back up there, maybe I would jump on a potential short opportunity on USD JPY, but since my long-term bias on this is higher, I really don't want to trade it to the downside. I don't think you're going to see any significant unwind of this or anything like that. And I'm still holding shorts on this. My short entry is up here, so there's no reason to close it. You're probably at some point this week going to smoke 115. But that might be an area to look for new shorts. Gotta love that. Only got 2 weeks of trend out of that. For the last 3 weeks, we've done nothing. I tell you, these macro conditions that have created a very choppy dollar for literally 3/4 of 2025 and every quarter for 2026. So choppy for so long. I kind of figured we would see a big breakout on the dollar once it did break out above Q4's highs, but it didn't. It gave us 1 week of upside continuation. I think the trade is just literally so crowded to the upside. This thing needs to liquidate a lot of those high buyers before it'll ultimately turn around and start heading back up. But the Fed's definitely going to like that inflation number for sure. I like it. Feels risk on. What did Fartcoin do? Fartcoin's been a terrible trade lately. Not as big as I thought it would be. Not as big of a move as I thought it would be. There just must not be that many people trading this thing. I don't know why. Look how big that move was in 2 days. Just bam, bam, big. Oh, it's over here. Sorry. Big, strong rally. Haven't been able to do that. Be hard to be a bear on it now. There's your weekly open. Let's check Pingu. Also a very small reaction there. Ethereum. That's a nice reaction on ETH. Okay. So ETH is stronger than Bitcoin right now. That might start to slow up here. The last time you did get up in this area, you can see how those sellers showed up. So we might see that again here once you get into this area. Got a long ways to go for that up there. Wow. Okay, so yeah, this is a big liquidation on Ethereum. So we might be getting ready to see a short squeeze on Ethereum. Sellers are going to be selling here. It's fresh 5-week highs. I don't want to see it come all the way back there. If this thing can hold the midpoint, I might get long on Ethereum looking for a short squeeze. But I can't buy it up here, obviously, because the drawdown to the midpoint would be a massive drawdown. But if price could pull back and show me that it's going to be willing to hold that as support, I might be willing to buy that. Thinking that a big short squeeze is coming. Let's go look at the liquidation levels on ETH. Ooh. Never mind. Look, there's not much. This is just a 1 day. That is so weird. There's not that many shorts in ETH to cause a short squeeze. Not really. People have just left crypto, bro. Look at this. Like, this should be heavily skewed. I would argue with this 30-day liquidation map, there's more risk on a downside break. Crazy sauce. You really don't start seeing big liquidations on Bitcoin till about 65K. Somebody put on massive longs trying to call that 58K low. That was the low too. All right, spoos. Yeah, so you're probably going to make a lower low here. You're going to get one more candle. So wait for the lower low. Gonna get one more lower low, maybe two. Most people like looking at the heat map instead for liquidation levels. It's just whatever floats your boat. Oh, they probably want me to log in. You can see there's not much liquidity down there. This is a year out. The majority of it's to the upside. Okay, so on this, it does look like there is more. There is a big gap here, though. Sometimes that you can see like a decent move higher in stuff like that. But what I've seen a lot of times is that's where price will like turn around. And it'll turn around there because there's not much liquidity there. So it turns around and heads back to the downside to give people time to build liquidity up in there. I mean, you can take it two different ways. But yeah, it's so weird that Ethereum looks like that on the liquidation map and on the heat map. So crazy. I wouldn't doubt it at all if Bitcoin broke out today above 64. There's no way I'd buy it here, but damn. ETH has already broken out. So You could see a big squeeze on ETH today. That liquidity heat map and just the liquidation map, they're not like legitimate limit orders. They use past data to derive those liquidation levels. So please don't think that that's where the liquidity is for real. It's not. It's past data. So it may not be accurate is what I'm trying to say. I almost would have to assume that you are going to make a lower low before you head higher. less than 15 minutes now, but you've got 11 minutes, 29 seconds until the New York session opens. They're probably going to snake that low then. And then if that's all it does, that might be a decent signal. We'll give it we'll see what happens with it. If it breaks that low and puts in a trending move, then I would be cautious, because that could indicate a repricement all the way back down to 75.16. But I feel like that should be bullish for risk today. SpaceX, ultimately, unless you had your head in the sand, you know that yesterday you broke down to fresh all-time lows on SpaceX and put in a pretty decent move under those lows. So now you're in price discovery, but you're trending. I mean, you're not in price discovery. You're trending lower here. We have 112 is where we would start to potentially think about putting some long-term shares in the portfolio on SpaceX. 112 is that 50% off mark from highs, right? Yeah, 112. So this is where I'm going to potentially start to buy SpaceX to put in a long-term hold. It's just going to be a few shares here and there. It's not going to be a big position or anything. But I do want to own some of it. I definitely want to own SpaceX for the long term. They are the premier rocket company in the US. So, I mean, I understand that they don't make money, but I mean, their satellite company does. Their internet company makes money. Yeah. Good stuff there. The XY is still on the lows. You did get that lower low, and notice how it stopped going lower. That was probably the buying opportunity right there. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Just like that. You could sweep this low when the bell rings, obviously. But it seems to me like how aggressive this candle is backing off those lows, it is probably going to head higher. Look at that 1 minute candle right there. That's where my buy order would have been. Like, first buy order if I wasn't already long. That was a decent pullback. So, yeah. Higher for the day. Make that money, Sonny. Oh, let's kill those moving averages. Those are useless on this time frame. But yeah, if this ends up being the low, that's where I'd want to be putting my risk. This is going to be different than the futures price. Let me get the exact price for you on futures. So we just need to drop into the 5-minute or something a little bit lower. 15-minute will be fine. That low is at 75.70. $75.70. Still got 7 minutes until the bell. Until the bell. All good, thank you, said Tom. The whole Hormuz circus, yeah, that's still an issue. I mean, gosh, I wish that guy would just chill, bro. I wish I could go back in time before Donald Trump got elected the first time around and then track every single trade that I've lost due to him tweeting, causing market volatility. It seems like it would be a lot of them. He has ruined so many beautiful technical setups. So many. I've eaten so many stops because of him. Yeah, he's totally fumbled that whole thing, man. In my opinion, he has totally screwed the pooch on that. He will be remembered for the man that said no more wars, and within the first year or 2 years of his second term took us straight to war. The SPX pre-sale was 135. Tapping that pool could be a promising sign. 135. So what do you mean? Like, that's where you were able to buy if you got in before it was priced? Then yeah, that probably will be a decent liquidity pool to tap. I agree. But you got to remember, this thing has been trading for a while on crypto platforms. But still hasn't hit 135. So yeah, I mean, you're trending now, so people will be looking to jump on this thing for lower prices. I would argue that you could start looking for shorts on it right now. As long as it's trading under this, you could have a near-term short scalp situated or open, as long as you're not targeting insane lower lows. Like if you're just targeting lower lows, like short entry 140.31, take profit 136.92, and then maybe a secondary take profit down at like 134.50. But if you're trading above this, you can't short it until here, 144.94, because there's just too much range in that candle. And this is where the next liquidation point is. So makes it very easy knowing that. I don't need to even waste money up here. I don't need to try to predict what way price is going. If it's failing to trend above this point, your sellers are jumping on there. Are they this morning? Let's go see. No, they are not. So the buyers are more aggressive today than the sellers for now. For now, the buyers are the aggressors. And then we can see where the POC is here. Yeah, the buyers are the aggressors. You're starting to see those sellers show up now as these nodes build in here. The sellers are literally putting risk on right there. So this POC is probably going to migrate up to here somewhere. Now those people are getting stopped out right now, but if the buyers are that aggressive, the lows could be in on this for a while. It's a double bottom. $141 would be that new risk mitigation point. 2 minutes into the bell. It's going to be painful if you get a vol spike under that low. It's very possible. One minute. Thirty seconds. 30 seconds, boys. If the sellers were more aggressive today, I would short this here, but I don't love it. What? I just got a weird alert on my phone. All right, so it didn't quite make a lower low. It looks like it wants to. Yeah, you're even starting to see trending move to the upside here. Yeah, sellers could be stuck. Anybody that shorted late session yesterday is stuck. That can cause an upside rip. And then you also would want to probably spot where the gamma levels are. That's a higher low, by the way. There's the liquidation. This is where I'd want to see price stop going lower. $75.26 is that low, so you got to think at least 5 points lower, right? That's where a lot of the liquidity would be. Not sitting right at that low. People would be taking entries right at the low. Their stop loss would be 75.21. So probably going to have to wait for that, then get long. If it's going to be a long. If it continues to go lower than 75.21, I don't think I would buy it. But I'm more than willing to put risk on at 75.21 for sure. But that's where I'd want to definitely see that low tick end up being. And 75.30 is just right here. So, I mean, you wouldn't need it to go far to hit that take profit. Because if I'm risking 5 points, I'm trying to make 10. You got a lot of range in the spoos today based on that CPI print. So yeah, that would have filled me. Now give me a higher high. So close. Stop loss at this entry at 75.20 would be 75.15. There's another lower low. And then if it makes that higher high, I'd want to see a one time framing all the way back up to 75.30. That would be my first take profit. 75.30. Still have not got a higher high. That's kind of crazy, man. There's a higher high. From here on out, I want to see higher lows. And should be good. We're good to go. Should be good to go here. There's 3 more points to go for the first. We don't care about this back and forth. We just want to see higher lows. We do not want to see a lower low. There would be your first take profit. So that's good to go. Yeah, hopefully at this point it will just continue to trend higher. As you got those early buyers out of the market pretty close. It's a very soft print, so it should be good. If you're in, you should be good. I don't know if you'll make a fresh day high or anything like that, but that's where I would want to support to hold if, take an entry there. My entry's lower, so obviously I didn't take the entry there, but this is exactly what I would want to see scalping this, which I am scalping it. Just let it go. Because that was really good print on inflation. It should be a good day on the SPOOs. Should be a good day all around for Bitcoin and SPOOs, Ethereum, Farcoin, all of it. Should do fine. That's how she's done. All right. That first day, DJT team was a choppy mess all the way to the COVID dump. Good morning, all. And Bower Bull said, LOL. I don't know what he's laughing out loud about, or they are laughing out loud about. But good morning. What's SpaceX doing this morning? Yeah, it's still stopping out shorts, aggressive shorts. Once you start making fresh lows like this, to get involved on shorts is very dangerous. It's an aggressive style of trading because essentially you need continuation in order to make money. You're not just trading the range. You absolutely have to have continuation. See, like how we were looking for this fill at 75.20 to take profits at 75.30. That's us just trading a retracement. We don't need continuation to get paid. Whereas if you're shorting down in here, you need a breakdown and continuation to get paid. It's never what I suggest people do. And then obviously there's always going to be that oversold factor, which we should have. We've got a 21 day. Yeah, you're massively oversold down here on the daily time frame. So I mean, it's not the best place to look for shorts. The 50 is, and then you're getting out of shorts on oversold. The same for on the bullish side of the ball game, right? You're looking to get long at the 50. You're looking to take profits once you hit oversold or overbought. Sorry. You got a higher high on the S&P on the 30-minute chart. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Looks like a V-shaped recovery. Probably going to see a little bit of sideways chop in here because this is where the sellers were the last time. So naturally, you're going to have people jump on it there. And this little back and forth should go on for the rest of the day. Yeah, that was a very soft inflation print. Very good stuff. You're going to see some volatility again, potentially at 10 o'clock as he is testifying. In the United States, the authority to set interest rates is divided between the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve Board and the Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC. The board decides on changes in discount rates after recommendations submitted by one or more of the regional Federal Reserve banks. The FOMC decides on open market operations, including the desired levels of central bank money or the desired federal funds market rate. So coming into this testimony today, he's going to know that it was a lot softer than anticipated. I mean, damn, you went from 4.2 down to 3.5. Huge good news in terms of, are they going to have to hike or not? The answer is no. Not so much. But obviously they're going to be watching the yields still. You can see the 2-year down nicely today. Down nicely. There's where you were. You're going to be back down to 3.5. Good stuff. The Fed's target, obviously 2, but still, it's backing off. That's good. That's what he's good. That's what they're going to want in order to stay on to keep the neutral rate set at 3.5. Now that you're seeing that also, let's see, do I have, no. So I would have to make it, let's just go to the 3-month real quick and let me subtract. Well, it won't look right because we don't have that number yet, but where 0% is here. So you're going to be back in the positive territory on this. So that literally means that people that are in money market funds now, because of that lower inflation number today, are going to be positive. They're going to be in the good. So that's good news. That means you're making money. You're outpacing inflation. It just hasn't come onto the chart yet for whatever reason. This is still showing negative. It should be back up to positive with that new CPI number. There's some pretty good signs there. Good stuff. Bitcoin still testing the week open. Probably going to see some two-sided trade here. This would be a very aggressive long way up here, in my opinion. Very aggressive. People are now starting to short up here. It's the week open. It makes sense that sellers would be interested in shorting that. There's no way I would be interested in shorting it. It's way too much bullish momentum coming into the level. If I was looking for shorts on Bitcoin, I would have wanted to see it fail after making a fresh day high today. And that would have been the end of it. You are seeing aggressive sellers show up. I don't know if they're that aggressive. They are that aggressive. Look how aggressive the sellers are on Bitcoin. So you might see a lot of this move retrace. Unfortunately, it's an inside day still, so you haven't set that as a trap just yet. Yesterday's close back under the 21. 62.9 is where the weekly VWAP is. That's the lowest I would want to see it go today. I might be interested in putting on a long op if Bitcoin pulls back the majority of the day and builds in like a larger range in this area. Then I might be willing to buy these lows. Let's see what that would look like on the 4 hour. That would be a complete and total retracement of this 4 hour expansion. That would not feel or look bullish at all if that were to happen. Yeah, I don't think you're going to get that deep of a correction. It could happen, but the trading day has commenced. That war going on still. I'm pretty sure there was some new bombing yesterday. I'm pretty sure I read that. So naturally, that's going to be kind of more on the risk off side of things. Maybe here is where we'll get some info on the bombage. Energy prices have come down a lot. There's a whole bunch of gasoline deflation on its way. That was the best inflation report we've seen in about 6 years, Fox News, and that's coming from Asset. You also had bank earnings this morning. Well, we will obviously adjust pricing in each of our segments for any rate hike. There will be no rate hike in 2026, most likely. Where's the bomb news? It's in 10 minutes. Well, that's not a link to the actual live stream. Will they stream that live? I don't know. They didn't yesterday. Anyways. want to get in front of that stuff. Oh, I think, let me see. What is the name of that one? Not Bitcoin news. It's the BRICS. BRICS news. Uh, 8 hours ago, U.S. launches campaign to dismantle the International Criminal Court. Iran says it destroyed U.S. military and Navy assets in Bahrain. That's funny. It's a total lie. Indian crew member, nope. Major explosions reported all across Iran following U.S. strikes. So yeah, 13 hours ago. So with that stuff still going on, obviously there's headwind risk potential. But just because you got a good CPI print today doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see an advance all day here on this chart. It's what I think the most highest probability would be, but obviously anything could go wrong and stop that advance. Any new, like, seriously bad news would obviously cause this thing to go cascading right back down. That's always the risk. However, with the scalp that I've got on here today in the S&P futures, all I have to do at this point, no matter what now, is just move this little thing right here, and I cannot lose money. It's physically impossible to lose money on this trade. Entry at 7547. That's 7563. Not quite 20 points. I'll take that any day of the week, especially if I'm only usually aiming for 10. That's almost double of what I usually aim for. So it can't lose money now. Good to go. Mitigate risk. Risk mitigated. So my job as a trader is done. And in terms of the Bitcoin trades that I have open, almost assured that the short here at this wick high is going to be stopped out today or tomorrow, as long as no headline risk pops up on the news wire today. So in going back into the Bitcoin chart, here, let me just refresh it as it's whatever, struggling to pop up. So there you go. Those are the two positions that I'm currently holding on Bitcoin right now. This short was literally just to mitigate this long. Or vice versa if it rolls over. Because clearly the structure is still bearish. Your 200 is still above the 21 on the 4-hour time frame. So that still signals weakness. But I'm assuming if price breaks out above this stuff, the next liquidation point is going to be 65,630. And then obviously above that, 67,297. So those would be my longer term bullish targets on Bitcoin if it breaks out above this swing high. And then that trade would pay out decently. Not bad. I've already made a couple $100 on it, but I've been sitting in it for so long, I've paid $33 in funding fees. We took that long trade, we took it on the non-farm payroll day. We bought it high in the range, and I didn't like the setup to begin with, but it's all we had, so I took it. I'm amazed that position is still open. Amazed. Completely amazed. But we got the move that we wanted to see, and we took profits on that trade. So this is just to catch any upside continuation potential. But when you build in a range like this, I mean, you have two ranges here overall. You have a large range that goes from this swing high to that swing low. So this is your larger overall range, but inside that range, you have this small range. So you kind of see what's going on there. Yeah, we'll see what happens with it longer term. Should be okay. As most of the selling has been done. All right, so, and then lastly, though, this is very important. If I don't have it pulled up. Okay, so let me go to check on chain. The charts, and then annualized funding rate. It's a very good chart to keep an eye on because it literally shows you who's being paid. And right now, the sellers are being paid. So any long-term positioning, funding rates don't really apply to day traders or even swing traders for that matter. Because I mean, if you think about it, I've been in the trade for 11 days and I've paid $30. That's not that bad. Well, I only have $687 at risk. So that is kind of expensive, right? If you think about it. So now imagine that in terms of millions of dollars. You would be paying literally tens of thousands of dollars to be in the same trade. So that does affect long-term positioning on Bitcoin. That does affect it. So right now it's not super opportunistic on Bitcoin to be holding any multi-month positions. So if I'm looking at Q3 and Q4, for instance, to enter a long position on Bitcoin right now, I'm kind of entering a long position at a high funding rate. So it's going to be an expensive trade to sit in, even if I get price appreciation. Because the markets trade choppy most of the time, or in a range. The trending happens very little. In fact, there's an old time saying that is like, it's time in the market is obviously better than trying to time the market, because in an entire year, from 0% up to 20 on the S&P, the majority of that expansion comes from only 10 days out of the year. The rest of it, you're in price discovery. So if you miss those 10 days, then you're going to miss out on the expansion. So funding rates, at least annualized, funding rates matter for sure. Now, in the case of Bitcoin right here, it's still at the lows. So in terms of price appreciation, I mean, you're only $4,000 away from the lows. So you're at least buying it at an opportunistic area in terms of if we see price appreciation from here, then obviously, at least price-wise, decent place to put on longer term positions. But funding fees are not advantageous for that. So we're not seeing massive moves up on Bitcoin because of that. The last time that you had an opportunistic funding fee, when it wasn't, not only were buyers getting paid to hold longs down in here, what transpired? I'll tell you what transpired. You had an entire month of upside. All of April was upside. All of it. And that was because of the advantageous funding rates. So obviously I wish the funding rates would switch around a little bit. S&P's coming off slightly aggressive here. A lot of two-sided trade happening. Let me get you back down here so you can see that. Aggressive moves happening. What did SpaceX do this morning? It's still just, yeah, big short squeeze. And now sellers are willing to come in. That's, most of this is probably going to be stop losses. You can see how the blue is so much bigger than the yellow. That signifies buying pressure. So anybody that was short, their stop losses are buys. That's why you see a lot of buys happening at highs. It's a lot of stops being hammered. But no downside continuation today. That's an issue for shorts, especially lower shorts. But I do kind of agree. I do think 135 would be a decent liquidity pool to attack based on it being the price that those pre-market sales happened at. So it does feel like maybe tomorrow or the next day, it might get faded again. Down into 135. Liquidate this double bottom and then we'll see what it does. But this isn't a valid short setup for me. People were taking shorts based on supply, I guess, but it's slightly working for now. Looks bad. Probably gets to be okay eventually. We'll see. So I wish funding fees would flip back to positive for Bitcoin, or at least positive for longs. I think that would be great. That would help us get up off these lows. Getting up off the lows would be a lot better. But there's still going to be sellers jumping on this long term. Fibonacci sellers, people selling June's range. You're going to be looking for, this will probably be the best place if Bitcoin fails to put in a trending move above that swing high. That's a weekly swing high, not a monthly swing high, but still a very big long-term swing. That's probably where I'd be willing to put on new shorts on Bitcoin. The first place, I guess. That's if it breaks out above here, obviously. As I think that would be the longer term upside targets. All right, 10 o'clock, so War should be speaking. I don't know if it's being televised. Probably is, but it's not here for whatever reason. All right, any other questions? Any questions? As today, now it'll just be wait and see what price does. It'll be a wait and see kind of day. A lot of selling pressure is going to come from a daily supply candle here. This is also your weekly open, so any time you get that close to the weekly open, you're going to have sellers jump on it based on the fact that you're currently weak in the weekly range and they're looking for downside continuation. I don't think I would have that stance, but you never know. You do have a couple of fresh lower lows here. All three of these highs are also lower. So for at least right now, you have a very tight kind of like descending 3-day channel. Right? Something like that. So, I mean, the channel is where people are going to be looking for shorts naturally. Whatever. All right. YouTube.com watch. Okay.
Trading success starts with trust.
All right. Don't care
Forex.
about that. Or hang on a second. That's the wrong one.
Fed's regulatory and supervisory policy in the recent past, the Fed has engaged in mission creep, resulting from political capture by certain partisan actors attempting to accomplish policies through the Fed on which they cannot build a consensus and pass through the Congress. From crusades against digital assets to trying to make the Fed a climate regulator, these decisions took the Fed far beyond the boundaries that Congress has authorized in statute. It's not the Fed's role to make decisions for the American people on major questions of political or economic significance. That's Congress's responsibility. The Fed needs to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past and reform itself to guard long-term monetary policy independence and restore the reputation of the Fed in an apolitical as an agent carrying out the Congress's statutory directives. I look forward to your testimony today, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back. I now want to recognize our distinguished ranking member of the committee, Mrs. Waters, for 4 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Hill.
That's where the volatility is coming from on this recent push down on the SPOOs. It's just 10 o'clock is what time this thing started, and that's when the volatility showed up.
Chairman Walsh, you are taking the helm of the Federal Reserve at an important moment. Congress designed the Fed to stand apart from politics so that it can support stable prices, maximum employment, financial stability, and the long-term interests of the American people, and not the personal interests of a president. Today, working families are being crushed by the rising cost of living. They pay more at the grocery store, more at the gas pump, and more for housing than they did a year ago. Just today, the Bipartisan Joint Economic Committee reported that Americans have paid a total of $56.4 billion more in gas since Trump began his endless war with Iran. That's $477 for each household in America. In fact, the Federal Reserve's own research shows that 1 in 10 Americans skips meals because they simply cannot afford it. Workers are also worried about what artificial intelligence means for their jobs and their financial security. The one common thread of all of this is Trump, whose policies and actions made the economy and the concerns
because
of
it's just going to
American
be a bunch
people
of Democrats
so much
bitching
worse.
about Trump.
These tariffs have driven up costs.
They're not
for
going to talk
consumers and businesses.
at all
It's a
about the
tax
Fed
on
and
independent
anything. They're
financial
just going to
regulators
use
and
this
undermine
time
confidence
to
in the
throw
mission
those,
of
gut
institutions
shots
that have
to
protected
the
public.
Republicans.
This war in the Middle East, which has
I
no
can't
end,
stand
continues to
politicians.
hurt gas and grocery prices. Despite this pain,
90%
being
of
felt
her
by
data
American
is probably
families,
horseshit.
There is one family making fistful of money, the first family, The Trump family has earned more than $2 billion.
You're making good money too,
since
Miss
Trump
Waters.
returned to office.
Millions.
Primarily from new crypto ventures that Trump's administration is supposed to oversee. Yet instead of addressing these growing conflicts of interest, Republicans are legitimatizing all of them. They blocked all efforts to stop this profiteering when they passed the
She's supposed to be
stablecoin
asking
and
Kevin
crypto
Warsh
legislation.
questions.
Sir
Like,
Walsh,
literally.
I understand.
Not this,
You have
not what
committed
she's
to
doing.
divesting all of your financial assets to
Almost
avoid
useless to
conflicts of
watch.
interest.
Why are you
That
looking
should
at
also
him?
be the case for the President of the United States of America. Turning to the Federal Reserve, Trump has repeatedly attacked your predecessor, Chairman Jerome Powell, because he refused to kiss the ring and bend monetary policy to the president's demands. His administration continues to try to remove your colleague, Governor Lisa Cook. I hope we hear from you today how exactly you will defend your colleagues and the Federal Reserve. You should also take no comfort in the Supreme Court's shielding the Fed when it overturned Humphrey's executor. The court vastly expanded presidential authority over independent agencies, and it is likely to still come for other functions of the Fed, like bank supervision next. Committed Democrats will continue fighting to protect the independence of the Fed and other agencies, strengthen consumer protections, and build on an economy that prioritizes working families, not the president, the wealthy or the well-connected. So I look forward to your testimony today. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman yields back. I now recognize the chair of the Task Force on Monetary Policy, Treasury Market Resilience, and Economic Prosperity, Mr. Lucas of Oklahoma, for a 1-minute opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, there's no point in listening to this. Not until the questions come. No point. I'm not going to listen to a bunch of Democrats bashing Trump. And it's the same way when the Republicans get in there when the Democrats run stuff. It's just politics. It's garbage. But that's where the volatility came. You can see that's 10 o'clock's when the thing started. That's when the sell side started. So it'll be a two-sided trading day, probably. Eventually, the range you'll either get to break down in a trending move lower, or it'll hold and you'll see a breakout to the upside and a trending move higher. It was good news. It's low inflation, so any chances of a rate hike has probably been destroyed. Now, does that mean the markets are going to go up all day? Obviously not. It's anybody's guess where it goes. But it was definitely a very, very, very good print on inflation. We want it going lower, for sure. All right, any other questions? How do we get these illiterate in office to begin? Yeah, well, it's this little thing called voting, and unfortunately, there is no no IQ test needed to be a voter in this country. You just gotta essentially be an American. So that was my protective stop loss, and it got hit. So yeah, it was way above my entry. It was a good trade, good to go. It would have been paid better, higher, obviously, but that's what we can't do. Predict price. All right. I still like it higher, but that was probably the last low. If you continue to make fresh lows after this one, then I would not try to get long any longer. You know what I mean? It's pretty volatile out there. Let's see if we can send one more off to get filled at that low. That's 65, 57, 70. Wait, what? 75, 57, 75, 57. Let me set that up. Resume. All right. buy to open there. And we'll see if we can catch that fill. Yeah, unfortunately, anybody older than 18 and an American citizen is allowed to vote. You have some really unintelligent people out there that make voting decisions that ruin it for the rest of society. But I guess if you want to change it, you have to vote. You have to hope your votes outweigh the ignorance. 75.57 is where I got a limit fill, and then I will stop out of that at 5 points, and I'll still be close to 10 points in the good for the day. So regardless, would have been a much better trade, obviously, if it wouldn't have wicked down and stopped out the 935 lows. Let's drop down in here on a 1 minute so we can see what's actually going on here. So the next 1 minute candle open up. If it doesn't put in a lower low, I'll chase it up. All right, come on, give me a higher low here. I'm gonna chase this thing up a little bit here. Because I do believe that that was just a stop run. We'll see. Yeah, probably. Want to get too anxious on the chase. Jesus, dude. So annoying when that happens. But you gotta put out stops because you can't predict it. I'm not gonna chase it any higher than that. Because at this point, a stop loss would be wide. 10 points. But that was probably the low. How low did it go? Let's see. So once that low was in 64, 56. So 8 points. 8 points. It just literally got me, and then up it went. So annoying. It's a micros. It's not a lot. Right? It's not a lot. A 10-point move is $50. All right, I'm not going to chase it any higher than that. We'll probably just wrap it up here. It was a good trade. It was a good trade. I wanted to hold it for the entire day, though. It's very annoying when you get those stop runs because that's exactly what they're designed to do. Get you out of the market, then make you chase price higher, and then stop you out again. Which I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play that game today. I played that game yesterday. I'm not playing it today. I'll take a fill here, but I'm not going to take a fill higher than that. Yeah, it's not going to come back. You bastard! It's the midpoint from this low to this high. That's why I'm not going any higher. This low to this high. This is the midpoint. If it'll come back here, I'll take the fill, but I'm not going any higher. Because I don't know that it is going to go up. I feel like it is, but I don't know that it is. Come on. Fill me. Let's go just a little bit higher. Right there. Close enough. That's, oh god, so annoying. Just shy of the midpoint. Let's say we have on an intraday moving average front. So like that's the 200. I guess I can move it up. You got the 200 here. And there she goes. $71, $77. Last one. This is where the stop will be now. Stock market 75. So it'd have to be 70. And drop it a little bit lower than that. Give it one more shot. The sellers are the more aggressive today on FXCM. Look at that. That's crazy. So your sellers are more aggressive today. Sellers are hyper aggressive today. On this exchange. I can't look at Forex.com because they don't provide data. But on FXCM, you've got shorts. Very aggressive shorts. So let's try Oanda. Well, Capital.com, do they give data? Capital.com, it's the buyers. The buyers are the aggressors. And I don't see Oanda. So out of the top three, only these two give data, volume data. Well, there's no signal there, clearly. One exchange, the sellers are aggressive, and on the other, the buyers are aggressive. So not really any data there. What's the DXY doing? You're not really seeing any downside continuation, as 8:30 was the time when the print came out. So this is just now testing the top of the range. I don't know if the dollar would roll over from here. Maybe it spikes up a little higher. I can tell you one thing, the SPOOS is definitely not. The sellers are even more aggressive on this. This is a CFD as well. What? Even on this, the sellers are more aggressive. Look at that. That's crazy, bro. Wait a minute. This is lagged data. Why is this data lagged? The sellers are the aggressors. So if you make a fresh day high, you're probably going to see a nice rally based on the sellers getting squeezed. $85 is where we would be profit takers. Because we're in at 75. We're risking 5 points to make 10. So at 85, that's where your take profit would be. Because this is a large account and I'm only trading micros, I literally don't care what happens with it. With this trade, this contract is good till September. So hypothetically, as long as I don't need to stop, I can hold it to September. If I thought it was going to break out and rally hard. It has been in consolidation for some time. We can look at that on the daily time frame. Uh-oh, my girl's breaking bad on a cat. Probably my mean cat. I have a cat that's mean. He's mean to her other cats. It's not our cat, it's my mom's cat. So he's a meanie butt, getting his ass whooped. Yeah, I don't know that you're gonna, I mean, I'm not looking for it to break out today. I'm talking about longer term, like 3-4 weeks from now. Could this break out? Yeah, it absolutely could. I got news for you. Because you gapped down yesterday and only traded it there, taking out yesterday's high seems like absolutely possible. But anyway, our profit target was hit by a lot. There's your breakout above the high of day. Right here. Big breakout above the high of day. I kind of figured you would see a volatile spike, as that's where the sellers were. Squirt them in the face, baby. Yeah, you get above yesterday's high, you're going to probably see a squeeze. Right here's where I'd definitely be taking profits. I mean, you got the move. If you were long at today's low, at yesterday's open, your first take profit would be here, right? You're trading the range, this range. That's all we do. That's what makes us successful over time. We don't look for breakouts, breakdowns. If we get them, that's nice. But we don't aim for them. Good stuff. So 85, we're at 88 right now. So we could close that trade out and be another good trade for the day. So 2 for 2, essentially, on the day. I was 0 for 4 yesterday. 2 for 2 is good today, though. It makes all that money back. Love it. Any other questions? Nice wig. How do we... Okay, read that. She can barely articulate the speech that someone else wrote for... yeah, I'm not going to go there because I'm old too. I have trouble speaking occasionally myself. Yeah, we should definitely have younger politicians in office, and they should not be allowed to be... I mean, they should be able to make money, but there should be no, like, this, I'm a politician making $100,000 a year, but I'm worth $50 million stuff has got to stop. Because what you got is you got politicians that are broke going into office, and then they become rich in office. There's an obvious problem there. Donald Trump took no salary. So the fact that she's mad because Donald Trump makes money, hello, this is America. Everybody's allowed to make money in America. And the government doesn't care how much money you make, as long as you pay your taxes. You can make $100 million per second if you want. You just got to pay your taxes. So really and truly, her going after him for that is so stupid. Like I said, she's probably worth millions herself. I don't know her name, or I'd Google search it. Maxine Waters, right? That's her name. Let's see what Google has to say. Doesn't really matter. I don't care. I don't care how much money she makes. But, I mean, she's worth $3.74 million. She makes $100,000 a year. So she's obviously getting kickbacks or investing well. Oh, base salary 174. Never mind. I could definitely see someone saving $3 million in what? 15 years? She's obviously getting money from somebody that isn't her salary. And she's worth $3 million, far better off than the lower people she's talking about, right? The working class, like the McDonald's employee that makes $15 an hour. She's far better off than they are. I wouldn't doubt it if her health care is completely paid by the U.S. government and all this other stuff she gets, right? So she doesn't have any room to talk. Donald Trump was a billionaire before he got into office. Being a billionaire just means most likely he's going to make a shitload of money. Is he been cheating? I mean, I can't say that. I have no proof of it, but I can say that there was a lot of shady stuff going down for sure. I don't like politics. I don't like the politicians. I don't like politics, the game itself. I like trading. That's what I like to do. It's fun. I like it. All right. Anyways, that's probably it for me as a successful day. Good to go. I think Bitcoin breaks out eventually. I really like that it's so close to last week's high. That's a good look, especially after pulling back early in the week. Hopefully your weekly low is set and done and in. That would be nice. Today is Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, it would have been a very dangerous, aggressive buy to get long here. But that was a very good inflation print, so I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Bitcoin close up above $64,000 today. Now, that would be a very big day. But I mean, judging by what's going on here intraday, it's definitely possible. If you have shorts on, be careful. Today could be a really big up day. Just make sure your risk is mitigated. Same goes for all you SPOOs shorts out there. S&P shorts. You get above yesterday's high, this thing could really get going. Today's inflation print was the best inflation print we've seen in 6 years, 5 years. So I could definitely see today being a really good day. Closing as 75.87 wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities. So just keep that, just be aware of that. Be aware of that. Gold is probably going to have a good day as well. An inflation hedge. Why is it rallying, do you ask, on a day when you got good inflation numbers? It's from dollar weakness. It's from dollar weakness. That's it. That's what's going on. You are at daily support down here as well. So far, daily support is holding. You've not been able to close the day under that yet. Even though you spent many days trading under that price, it could not close under it. So your key inflection point on gold right now, $4,000. That seems to be decent support. Gold could continue to rally as well off of this news. The news basically is going to stop the Fed from being so hawkish. So it's like a complete and total risk on type of thing. Still not seeing any major downside on that. USD JPY probably won't. But anyways, yeah, pretty much good to go for the rest of the day. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.